A very good evening to one and all watching this episode of Just Talks on the topic advantages and challenges while working in the top tier firms. And the eminent guest speaker of this episode is none other than Mr. Akshay Pathak, Senior Associate at Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. Sir has done his graduation from MIT Law School, Delhi in the year 2016. Sir was working as an associate in Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas for almost 2 years from the year 2016 to 2018. Then Sir joined Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas in the year 2018 and worked as an associate for more than 1 year. And recently, few months ago, Sir has got promotion and started working as a senior associate at Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. Sir's practice area includes domestic and cross-border MA transactions and general corporate matters, including restructurings. This was a short introduction about Sir. Let's begin with the discussion. Over to you, Sir.
Thank you, Ayush, for the intro. So the topic which we are discussing today is something which usually is never discussed. The reason being, the sole reason being is that majority of the students are more concerned about getting a job or getting an internship, as opposed to discussing about what will happen after they secure an internship, or let's say, what if they do get a job, right? Because I have interacted with hundreds of students across various law schools, in fact, thousands of students, I should say. And it's very rare that anyone has ever questioned me about what will happen after we start working. What kind of work do we get? What should we keep in mind before joining? So the sole reason is that majority of the students are more concerned about getting a job. But mind you, I have worked for 4 years, like over 4 years so far, and I have seen that sometimes even good students, and by good students I mean studious students who are amongst the toppers of their batch in good national law schools, like within a few months, or let's say 6 or 7 months into the profession, they sometimes feel that we are not meant for this, and they either switch or they completely leave it all together. So I have always been of the opinion that even as an intern, you should never consider yourself as an intern. Okay, because the accountability of your work will totally depend upon how you take up the work, and how much do you want to get involved with the work. If you think that whatever you're doing is limited to you being an intern and it will obviously get reviewed by something senior, then you will always behave in that fashion. Okay, even though and if you believe that you are totally accountable for your work, then obviously it will always reflect in your work. Now we are discussing that what are the challenges of working in a tier 1 law firm and what are the advantages. So we can totally keep these two points totally different. The first one being that what are the challenges, and the second point being the advantages. So let's first start with the advantages. Let's start with something very positive, on a positive note. So see, if you work with a good law firm, with a tier 1 law firm, the most advantageous point would be that you get to work with the best legal minds in the industry. Okay, because even you might have been the topper of your batch, you might have been the most academically brightest student. If you compare yourself with your other batchmates, you might have done 5 moots, you might have done 10 moots, you might have won 5 out of 10 moots you have done, you might have written 10 research papers. Even then, if you work in a good organization, you will realize that you're working with the brightest minds of the legal industry. There would always be someone in majority of the cases who has done more than you, who has academically achieved more than you, who is more hardworking than you. So working in such a challenging atmosphere gives you a push. It sort of I would say helps you or brings the best inside you, as opposed to working somewhere wherein you know that you are sitting जो जो हम कहते हैं अंधों में काना राजा वाला point. So similarly, if you are working in a very small organization, and I'm not saying that working in a small organization is wrong. All I'm saying is that at least if you are working in a big organization, a reputed organization, majority of the people who have come there have done hard work, and that's why they are working with that organization. If you're working in such an organization wherein you feel that you are the smartest, then you may sort of behave that way, which might not be good for your personal growth. Obviously, even if it's a 3-member organization, it might have 3 excellent individuals, and these days we are seeing a lot of small law firms springing up who are doing excellent work. But when it comes to working in an organization as a fresher, you should always consider yourself to be, even though you are a retainer and you are servicing the client, you should always consider yourself to be junior who has joined an institution to learn. Okay, so even you might be the smartest of your batch, but when you join an organization, always consider yourself to be the junior most person who must be ready to imbibe and learn whatever comes his or her way. So this is one of the key advantages, that you get to work with the best legal minds in the industry in any particular area of law. Now, the second best, like the most important point or the advantage of working in a good organization or a reputed law firm would be that you get to work on the most talked about or the top ticket deals in the country. Like if you're working with the team which does PE related work, if you're working with a team which does M&A related deals on a regular basis, and even if you join that team with a as a fresher, you might be involved in one of the biggest deals in that sector which that particular team or the firm is handling. Even though your role might be limited to doing due diligence, even then your, like, you can directly see that your work does count. Because sometimes this is another point which I would want to address, that sometimes while interning, as a law student also, I have done several internships, and often I used to wonder that whether I'm making any useful contribution to the team. What is happening to my work? Am I contributing in a positive manner to the team, or the team is just delegating some work to me just to keep me occupied? A lot of times that happens. But once you start working as an associate, obviously you will never get work just for the sake of it. Whatever you are doing, you are contributing in some manner or the other. So first point being that you're working with the top legal minds. The second advantageous point being that you get to work with on the best deals in that particular industry. So obviously your knowledge base, your expertise keeps on building. You may not realize in the beginning, like in the initial months, you might be facing tough times because you've just graduated from law school, and everything is new to you. You have never worked in that kind of atmosphere. You have never faced such kind of accountability. You have never been held accountable for your work in such a manner. And it might be difficult for you in the few initial months. You may feel that you're making a lot of mistakes. But at the same time, if you remember that you are there to learn, and it's just not a 9 to 5 job, if you don't take it that way, then obviously your knowledge base will keep on growing. Something small which you learn from one transaction, one due diligence, will help you in some other work. Which, like, even during internships, if any interns are listening to this, they would also understand this fact. A lot of times they have there are people who have done several internships, and they would have done something in one internship which helps them in some, while researching on some other point in some other internship. So that's what happens, in, to put it in very simple words, that's exactly what happens to an associate also. That's how you learn and keep on growing. So this is the second advantageous point of working in a good organization. And another smaller point which I would consider it to be an advantage is that a lot of times what I have seen as an intern working in a smaller organization as an intern, but my experience is limited to working as an intern. But a lot of times what I have seen is that sometimes in smaller organizations, due to lack of adequate number of workforce, sometimes the team may not be that structured. Right. When I say the team is not structured, I mean that, and that could happen even in any reputed law firm also. Basically, you may not have adequate number of people at mid level. Like maybe if you're working in a smaller organization, maybe it's just a 5-member team, wherein you report directly to your concerned partner, and you have this feeling that there's a sword always hanging on my neck, that if I make any mistake, then I'll be gone. As opposed to working in a bigger organization wherein there is a possibility that the team is structured. There are people above you who you can directly approach. Sometimes, because I'm not saying that ideally you shouldn't approach the concerned partner if you're a fresher. I would be the last person to say that. As opposed to that, I feel that if you have any slightest of the doubts, it's always better to check with the concerned person, clarify your doubts, then work, as opposed to do anything what you like and then presenting your work and then getting it reviewed and then changing it accordingly. Okay, but a lot of times what happens is that when we join big law firms as freshers, we are a bit hesitant. We have never worked in that atmosphere. We hesitate in asking for help. We hesitate in approaching the concerned partner. So that, like, if we have someone a year senior to us, maybe 3 years senior to us, so that comforts us. So a lot of times in bigger organization, the team is structured in a way wherein there is a senior person, then there are mid-level people, 1 or 2 people, and then there are juniors. So the mid-level person may act as a cushion, may at least guide the junior with respect to research work, because that junior may never have done that kind of work. So these are the key advantages of working in a reputed law firm. Or it can be like not just a law firm. If you are a graduate, if you are just, you might be associated with any profession. Working with a reputed organization has these 3 advantages. Number one, that I'm just reiterating. Number one, you get to work with the best minds of working in that sector. Number 2, you do get enough exposure which will help you to grow your knowledge base. And number 3, that you do have support and guidance from your immediate seniors, who might be mid-level, mid people at mid-level seniority. So these are the 3 advantages in my opinion, based on my journey so far. Now coming to the challenges of working in a tier 1 law firm, and I won't just call and a lot of times a lot of points which I would be discussing and pointing out here applicable to anyone who's working with any specific organization as a fresher. Even forget about working with a tier 1 law firm, because there are a lot of general points which would be applicable to anyone who has just graduated. And I would even be specifically pointing out issues with respect to working in law firms and in bigger organizations. So see, the first challenge which at least I faced is the transition phase. Basically, when you are in law school, you're still a law graduate, you're still a student, you have not graduated, and you are doing internships one after the other, and your exposure to law firms is limited to you working as an intern. But this transition from an intern to an associate, no one prepares you for that transition. Some law firms do have this concept of compulsory internship after you have got an offer, but a lot of times a lot of students get their offer in their final year, and at times after they graduate. Like in my case, I got an offer after I had graduated. Okay, so a lot of times no one in effect prepares you for what you're going to face, and the transition phase could be like difficult for 2 reasons. Number one, intern. There are high chances that you may have never done the kind of work which you will be doing as an associate in a law firm, and especially in a tier 1 law firm. Okay, because the work which you are doing as an intern always, especially in corporate teams, is always limited. The reason being, is that number one, a lot of times because of confidentiality issues, the team may not be in a position to delegate you any drafting work. Okay. Number two, a lot of times an intern, like due to the strict deadlines, an intern may not, like the team may not be able to delegate that work to the intern, because obviously that work will have to be rechecked by someone senior. So because of these two reasons, often interns may not get a total exposure or like total clarity with respect to the kind of work which they'll be expected to do. Even though I'm not saying that whatever interns do totally it's ignored. Interns should never take their assignments lightly, because it may seem that no one is reviewing their work, or they're just sending an email and no one is getting back to them. But at the end of the day, every intern is reviewed by every team. Okay. So on a separate, sorry, I digress from the point, because a lot of times intern have this question in their mind. So coming back, so we are discussing about the transition phase. That like what challenges can someone face in this transition phase from an intern to an associate. So the first point being that the kind of work which you are expected to do as an associate, this is something which you may have never done, or no one would have taught you that in your law school. You might be coming from the best law schools in the country, even then. Now, the second point, which is a challenge with associated with this transition phase, is the accountability. So a lot of times as an intern, you are accountable. Maybe like I did discuss about accountability in the first part in like few minutes back. Like maybe you're a very good intern. You do take your work very, very seriously. Even then, do understand that if some, like for example, like I'll explain this with a very simple example. Let's say the team is working on a memorandum or on a legal opinion. For that, case law research is required on 2-3 points. Okay, a partner is working with, let's say, a senior associate, and that essay has also involved that junior, not junior, that intern for the research. Obviously, drafting work he'll do on his own. So this is one scenario, as opposed to a scenario wherein the partner is working with an essay, and the essay has involved a junior, let's say someone who has 1 year experience or 2 year experience. Okay, and no intern. So if we compare these two scenarios, then I'll explain what is the meaning of being accountable for your work. So if the intern has been given this research work, and whatever work the intern submits to the concerned essay, the essay would be under an obligation to redo the entire research, if possible, and recheck everything word by word. He cannot just rely on the intern saying that, look, I have only found this judgment and there is nothing else. As opposed to a situation wherein the research work on one particular point was delegated to an A0 or A2. And when I say A0, A2, it would mean someone who is just a fresher or who has 2 years of experience. In that case, if let's say that senior associate is stuck with other work, and that A2 or A0 has done the research, at least the case law research part, then the essay obviously would be under an obligation to discuss the research with the concerned A0 or A2, and would discuss what are the points which the concerned junior has found, would read the judgments himself, but at the same time, he can at least place some reliance on the research which has been done by the junior. But when he has, as opposed to a situation wherein he's given the research to an intern, he cannot totally rely on any specific research which is done by the intern. He has to sort of redo everything just to be 100% sure. Obviously, if the mistake is made by an intern may be told that, look, you missed something. But as opposed to a situation wherein some mistake, and in that case, even then that essay will obviously be held liable for the mistake on his part for missing out on any case law. But when it comes to accountability, even when some specific point is missed by an A0, A2, everyone will be held accountable, the essay and even the junior. But the accountability of intern, you might be the brightest of the intern, but the partner may not specifically call that intern and ask that how could you know, like why couldn't you find that specific case law, or like why were we not told about this specific point? Or that partner may not specifically bother about calling that intern and asking him that can I rely on your research? But the concerned partner may call that A0 and A2 and may discuss that research, that can you explain what you have done, or if there is something else which need to be processed or analyzed, please let me know so that we can work on the opinion. So that is where the difference comes. So in this transition phase, you will have to understand that you are totally accountable for your work. You might be an A0, but always believe that you are working directly for the client and you have full please take full responsibility of whatever work you're doing. So this is the first challenge which I would point out when you are working with a big organization, which is accountability, which is on account of two factors. One is the different new kind of work which you're doing, and number two, the change in accountability, the sudden change in accountability when your role moves from an intern to an associate. Now, on the first point which we discussed in this broad heading of transition phase was the difference in the kind of work. Obviously, the kind of work which you will be doing would be totally different. Okay, so here something which I want to highlight is that a lot of times, I'm reiterating, I pointed out that when we graduate and start working, we are a bit hesitant avoid this and prefer discussing the research point or whatever you are expected to do in detail with your concerned senior, be it someone at mid-level or be it a partner. If you're working with directly with partner, it's okay. Anyone would prefer explaining something 3 times as opposed to a situation wherein the junior is giving him something which he has to completely redo. Okay, so please avoid that situation. Always prefer discussing your research or discussing whatever work you've been delegated with, and then proceed with the assignment. Now, coming to another related aspect, when it comes to working in law firms, when you are an intern and you already have an offer in hand and you're set to join a law firm, and you do know that you will be doing something which you have never done, and this may not be applicable to someone who's in their 5th year and who has not yet got a job, but there are so many students who do get pre-placement offers, who get hired in their day zeros, and they do know that a year, like down the lane, within a year or so, I'll be within a year to be precise, I'll be working with this specific law firm. Then what I recommend is that always utilize that time period, because obviously you do have seniors who are working with that particular law firm, or for that matter in any law firm, because obviously the kind of work which a general corporate team of one law firm is doing, specifically a tier 1, like more or less the same kind of work for us, like when it comes to a fresher, the same kind of work the fresher of another tier 1 law firm might be doing. It could vary based on the kind of work which that specific team is doing. If it's doing a very it has a very niche area of practice, then that's a different thing. But when it comes to a general corporate team, obviously both the juniors in both those two tier 1 firms may be doing due diligences, maybe working on advisories, and to some extent on transaction documents. So it's always good to I would say approach your seniors or people who you know in those law firms and understand the kind of work which you will be expected to do, and try to equip yourself as much as you can. Obviously within a few months or a year, no one is asking you to be to totally transform yourself into a full-fledged corporate lawyer having a year of experience, but you can at least read about the basics of law or that concerned area of practice. Like let's say you know that you would prefer, because juniors are always asked for preference after they are recruited. So let's say general corporate team, you should at least brush up your basics on Companies Act. If you know that the concerned team does a lot of work pertaining to listed companies, just read about the basics regulations, read about SEBI LODR, read about insider trading code, read about takeover code. And when I say read about, I'm not saying that just read the regulations, be thorough with the regulations. If you're doing that, nothing like it, but at least understand the basic concepts. Understand that what is SEBI LODR, why is it relevant, understand what is insider trading, understand what is unpublished type sensitive information, understand uh, uh, what is the SEBI takeover code, what is an open offer, when is it triggered. So these concepts, I do understand that a lot of law schools do teach all this in securities law course. But if you are in your fourth year, and if you know that you are going to join a law firm in a year, try to brush up your skills and be fully equipped. Okay. Now, another challenge, this is being prepared for working in a big organization. Now, what if you start working? Okay. Now, this was preparing yourself. Now, what if you start working? So what are the pitfalls? What should you avoid? How should you approach your workplace? Because it's a totally new working environment. So my small suggestion would be that always make friends. And by making friends, I'm not saying that gossip at your workplace. Please avoid doing that. By making friends, I mean, please have a very healthy rapport with people who are in your team across all levels, and at the same time people who are in different teams, in different practice area. Lot of times what happens is that there are very small basic concepts which pertain to some other area of practice, but which may come up while you are diligencing any particular document, when you are advising any client, when you are working on some opinion. Okay. Wherein you need some small clarity from someone who has some expertise in that practice area. And obviously, if you're a fresher, again, you may hesitate in directly approaching the concerned partner of that other practice area. You would think that, should I speak to my partner first before approaching? A lot of times this happens. At least I used to often feel hesitant. I used to feel that to the extent possible, I should try to understand those concepts to the best of my abilities by doing my basic research. But a lot of times, just speaking to someone, let's say, who's at mid-level, or let's say who's at your level only, who has just 1 year of experience or who has just joined, but by virtue of the fact that that person is continuously working with that other practice area, that person will have some better understanding of that concept which is troubling you. You might be trying to Google, you might be trying to use databases just to search about that, and one 5-minute conversation with that person of some other practice area will give you the much needed clarity on that concept which you needed. So it's always good to develop a healthy rapport with people at your level and even in other teams. Now, another topic another additional point which I want to add here is that a lot of times, and this is related to the transition phase, a lot of times what happens is that when you join a team and you're the junior most person, there would be, obviously, if it's a bigger team, there would be more than 2 seniors above you. And especially if you are if you have a very big team, if you're working in a very big team who have like 2-3 partners, 3-4 PAs, 3-4 SAs, then a lot of times you may be working with many people, and you may be reporting to one specific individual, but when it comes to you working, you might be working with more than one people. And a lot of times what would happen is that, since the number of juniors could be less in your team, you could be the only junior, or you could be a junior with some other junior, the seniors may not realize it, and you will, at the same time, you will get work from more than one people at one point of time. And then you will think that, what should I do? Obviously, you are new to the organization. You would not want to refuse work directly. Okay, at the same time, you would be concerned about the deadlines, because this, like, we are in a profession wherein deadlines mean everything. We are servicing our clients, like, and each lawyer tries to service client to the best of his or her abilities to retain relationship with that client. That's how this profession works. So deadlines mean everything to a lawyer. So obviously, especially in law firms, people work on strict deadlines, and they would want to avoid any type of delay. So as a fresher, you are concerned that how will I manage this work? So a very important issue here is that if you are getting work from more than one people at one point of time, and if you don't feel like, and obviously I would also not recommend straight away denying work from any senior, at least keep everyone informed. And if you feel that you are overburdened, and if you, there is no way in which you can possibly deal with all 2 or 3 kind of work at the same time, please check with your concerned reporting partner, keep him or her informed, keep the others informed, and then discuss with them that, sir, how should I prioritize work? And please try to complete everything to the best of your abilities. If I'm saying that you have, like, what if all those 3 work are 1 hour work? So I'm not saying you to or 2 hour work. I'm not saying you not to take work. And if the deadline is end of day for all those 3, you can obviously work. Or let's say the aggregate of the hours which you will be required to spend for all those 3 work is, let's say, 10 hours, 12 hours. Obviously you can do it in one day. Correct. Even though, like, working for 10, 12 hours as a fresher, you may feel that, look, I've just graduated, but this profession demands hard work. You cannot just shy away from hard work. So in that case, keep your senior informed. Tell them that, sir, this is how I'm planning to prioritize. I'll keep everyone informed in case I have a feeling that I may not be able to meet the deadline. Because a lot of times when you get the work, it's a research proposition, and you don't know how much time it will take. So best to keep everyone informed in a very polite way, without making someone believe that this person is, and don't try to outsmart your senior. Don't try to pretend, or don't try to fool your senior and take less work and try to be occupied. This is, may not be appreciated by anyone. And at the same time, your senior has been there, like, few years back, maybe 7-8 years back, he was also, or maybe 10 years back, he was also an A0. So he'll understand, or he or she will understand. So please avoid doing that. Now, I'm just coming back to building your knowledge base. I have just small thing I would want to add, which I forgot, is that as a lawyer or as a law student, why I stressed on the fact about building your knowledge base when you are about to join a law firm, is that a lawyer always remains a student. You might be a brilliant lawyer, but you will have to be updated. As a law student, you may not be updated with the current amendments. Even if you're interested in corporate law, even if you're set to join a corporate team, but once you start working, you'll have to be always updated with the day-to-day amendments and notification circulars. Like, for example, if you're working in a corporate team which does RBI SEBI related matters, you will have to be updated with amendments brought to the Companies Act, the notification circulars, the clarifications issued by SEBI, the informal guidance, even the amendments and notifications issued by RBI. So this is something which I don't see as a challenge, but this is something which you should keep in mind once you start working. Obviously, this is easier, and this is another advantage. I would just again add it as a 4th point. So what actually happens is that almost all, in fact, all tier 1 law firms have a very good knowledge, excellent, I would say excellent knowledge management team, wherein all recent amendments are compiled and sort of circulated to people who are associated with that organization. So just by following up those knowledge management updates, you will at least be abreast with the recent amendments which are happening in any particular area of law. So this is something which you'll have to keep in mind. So another challenge which I would want to point out while you're working is that sometimes you may feel that you are overburdened with work. This happens a lot of times when you are a fresher, and like often students ask me, or they have, like, if not students specifically ask me, they do have, everyone as a student also, I used to wonder that why is that juniors, like there is this general discussion that juniors really toil hard. They have to burn the midnight oil and they are perpetually sitting. That's the general impression which students have about law firms. Correct. That's the general impression which students have. So without commenting on this aspect, I would want to at least highlight that why is that sometimes junior have to spend more time. The reason being that they are doing it for the first time. They are reading that. See, once you start doing, obviously a lawyer would, like, even if someone has 10 years of experience, there could be a situation wherein someone is working on one specific point for the first time, and he or she is applying his or her brains to the best of his or her abilities, using his or her abilities in the best possible way one can. But as a junior, when you are doing work, a lot of times, a lot of work is of a repetitive nature. So obviously, if you are reviewing one document for one diligence, and let's say that diligence is complete, and for some other company you're reviewing a similar document, someone may call it repetitive, but repetitive in the sense that you have already reviewed that kind of document. You have the expertise to review and analyze the key issues with respect to that document and present it in the form of a issue in a due diligence report. So your expertise builds as you work. But if you're a fresher, if you're doing it for the first time, obviously, if you're reading an annual report for the first time in your life, obviously it will take you a lot of time. You may be, and if there is no specific senior who is sitting beside you and guiding you, you may be reading the annual report word by word, flipping that 40-page document page by page, and wondering that what is relevant, what is not. I should highlight everything, even remotely relevant, and discuss my senior, which is a good practice, as opposed to a situation wherein that is the 15th or 20th annual report which you are reviewing in 2 years. And obviously it will take you, instead of 3 hours, it will take you 1 hour. You might be in a position to read those 50 pages word by word and pick and choose points which are relevant to your diligence exercise within 1 hour. But that difference in reducing this 3 hour to 1 hour, that is what is those 2 years of experience. So it is those 2 years which sort of acted as a catalyst in ensuring that those 3 hours are reduced to 1 hour. So as a junior, obviously you may have to spend some more time, but never shy away from that hard work. And because, see, this is something which everyone has faced. And obviously, if it is something, it is so like burdensome that you cannot operate, you cannot sleep, you are not able, like, even getting sufficient sleep, then obviously you should talk to your immediate senior, if not the concerned partner. And if there's no one in between, directly to the partner. Tell him your issues, if there are any. Or if, let's say, you feel that the delegation of work is such that there is someone who's not getting adequate work, and at the same time someone is overburdened with some kind of work. So this is something which is totally in your hand, and you should totally be in a position to directly speak to your partner. You should have that kind of rapport with your senior, even though that person might be very senior. But if you intend to work in this sector on a long-term basis, it's always good to bring out, like, or at least have a healthy discussion with respect to any issues which you are having. But I'm not telling any junior to just complain or crib about everything. That's not the idea. But as opposed to having some issue which will make you quit the organization, it's always good to at least bring it to the table and discuss, and then see how things span out to be. Now, another issue, a lot of times this, because these days we are having this discussion of mental health, and we have this issue and this discussion around bullying at workplace. Okay, so please never confuse getting scolded once to bullying. That is not bullying, because a lot of times I do understand that your idea of getting offended might be different as opposed to me. But just because you are sort of like, if your mistake is pointed out, never feel bad about it. I do understand that if that person is trying to totally pull you down using something, using words which he or she shouldn't, then obviously it's wrong. But a single instance of an outburst by a senior because he or she is under an enormous pressure, please try to understand that everyone is a human being. And I'm not saying that such behavior should be, and I'm not trying to generalize such behavior, but like one specific incidence of someone getting angry at you, at least bear with that on a human ground. But if it's on a, like, if it's happening on a day-to-day basis, and if you know that you don't deserve it, then obviously you should politely bring it on the table, as opposed to, and then also you should not just send some angry mail to someone, or quit the organization, or walk up to the HR. It's always good to approach the concerned person and discuss your issues, because I'm saying that 90%, like 90 or 99% of the people feel like genuinely don't intend to scold you per se. They are under enormous client pressure or deadlines, and sometimes they may point out some mistake which someone may take it to the heart. But you should never consider that to be something which offends you, unless obviously there's a huge difference. Like I'm sure that anyone who has done 5 years of law is prudent enough to understand the difference between getting scolded for a mistake and getting bullied at workplace. And always work with a very open mind frame. Like, you should always consider yourself to be a student who's sitting there to learn, and please never consider it to be a 9 to 5 job. Obviously it's never 9 to 5 for a fresher, but even then, when I say 9 to 5, I mean that don't consider it to be like, I do understand that a job is always a job. A lot of people have this mindset that you should have a social life. It's okay, you should have a hobby. Obviously I'm also an advocate of this idea of having a hobby, having to do, like, you should always have this in mind, that after work, if you have some time, you should at least develop a habit, even if it's watching some specific show, or if you're into reading something, if you're playing guitar, doing that. Like, even then, please don't think that, like, sometimes if you're not getting some time for yourself, then don't just think that this job is not for me, because it's a challenging profession sometimes, especially for a junior. But at the same time, like, at least I have understood that those initial years, and I still consider myself to be very junior, because I've just completed 4 years into the profession. So these initial learning years are the building blocks of anyone's career, which helps you to gain that momentum and gain that expertise, which will at least help you make a mark in this sector, in this industry, in this market. So never shy away from hard work. And when it comes to learning, obviously learning will never stop. Like, you may switch to a different organization, you may switch to a smaller organization. Even then you will realize that time and again you would get to learn something new. That learning will never stop. But as a fresher, you should always have a very open mind that you are there to learn. You are not doing a 9 to 5 job, and your idea of joining that law firm should be to learn. I'm obviously, you should like, you are also earning, you're a retainer, you're being paid. But at the same time, I'm reiterating again and again, your idea should be to learn as a working professional. And another point, always when you're working, you will always, obviously you will be held accountable for your work, but you should hold yourself accountable for the work which you're doing. Because always remember, that you may be a retainer with that organization, that law firm, but please bear this in mind that you are servicing the client directly. So don't work with this frame of mind that obviously what I do will be reviewed by my senior. Obviously, that value addition will be done. Obviously, as a fresher, when you give a draft, it might be changed in track. And when the draft is returned to you, it will be full of changes in track. It's okay. But when you are doing that job, you should do it with such a zeal that this may go to the client directly. So if you're working in this fashion, obviously, I'm sure that your hard work will be appreciated, and you would be, as a junior, you will always be uh, uh, appreciated by your seniors, and even people from other verticals would want to work with you. So this is what at least I have learned in my 4 years of working with a law firm.
Okay, thank you
And I'm
so much.
sure that and I'm sure that if someone is ready to persevere and someone is willing to put in hard work, then obviously they will sail through these initial tough years. And sometimes I do understand that people may complain in the initial years that they are not getting enough time for you, free time for their hobbies, which I pointed out. But see, free time is also a very subjective term. Someone may get free at 7 in the evening, may crib about not having a sufficient time for pursuing any hobby, and someone may get free at 10, reach home at 11, and even then have 1 hour of free time to pursue an hobby. So, like, you should always be determined to persevere and do your best. At the same time, uh, give your best at your workplace and pursue your hobbies also.
Thank you
And there is
so
no shortcut to hard work.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for adding values in this session too. Let's start with the question. Our viewer want to ask some question from you. Moving on to first question: how to choose law firm for your job? Like there are various firms, top tier 1, top tier 2, tier 3 firm. How to choose for your jobs after you are a graduate, law graduate, fresher?
See, the first issue or the first point which you should consider before joining any specific law firm is, number one, where you want to see yourself 5 years ahead. Number two, the area of law which you want to start off with. And obviously, if you are a law graduate, you would definitely want to work with a bigger organization, with a tier 1 firm. But I believe that it is your hard work and your expertise which will decide the law firm for you, as opposed to, like, as in, you will obviously send your application to multiple law firms. Let's say if you haven't got any specific offer in your 4th or 5th year, it will be your CV and your interview which will determine that where you end up working, as opposed to you choosing those specific law firms. But obviously, if you're shortlisting law firms, you would give precedence to basically priority. You'll prioritize top law firms over smaller organizations. But obviously, some people want to begin with smaller law firms and then work with, because see, it's a why I am distressed. Why I want to stress on another point is that a lot of times what happens is that in tier 1 law firms, what I have seen is that the way teams operate is like every area of law is compartmentalized. Like, for example, that M&A team is doing only M&A. A lot of times in tier 2 law firms, what happens is that you are sort of doing everything. Someone who's doing general corporate may also be doing tax advisory. He may also be doing disputes related work. So if you feel that 5 years ahead down the lane you want to have some basic idea of all these 2-3 aspects, then you may be willing to join such kind of organization, as opposed to joining a firm wherein you'll be working with one specific team which is expert in one specific area of law.
Sir, moving on to second question: is interning in the top tier firm increases the percentage to get the job in the top tier firms?
Obviously, see, a lot of times what happens is that, see, there are only few national law schools, correct? And tier 1 law firms also do go for, like, they do recruit people from national law schools, but that is limited to the top 5-6 national law schools, and you cannot even like, you will have to understand their position also. They cannot just go to all law schools or all national law schools for recruitment, because they also have a fixed quota, yearly quota for recruitment. So obviously, if you are from a non-national law school, or if you are not from those 5-6 top national law schools, then getting an internship and impressing your team and getting a PPO is the only way wherein you can land up in a tier 1 law firm as a fresher. You can even join a tier 2, tier 3 law firm as a fresher, then gain some experience, and then get laterally hired in a tier 1 firm. But as a fresher, internship is the only way wherein you can get hired if you're from a non-national law school, or if you're from not from those 5-6 top national law schools.
Okay, sir. A personal question from my side: why you opted law as a career?
See, I'll give a very honest response to this, because a lot of times people do give this answer that I was always fascinated by law. And, like, obviously, I'll be very honest with you, when I used to read civics, because back then we used to have history and civics, and uh, civics was something which always used to interest me. And even though I don't practice on issue in any issue pertaining to constitutional law right now, back then I used to always be very intrigued and interested in reading about constitutional law. When I, like, as part of civics in my school days, and even on, like, when I used to read newspapers, anything pertaining to law used to interest me. But I'll be very frank with you, that never made up my mind to pursue law as a career back then. I always had this, because I'm not from a legal background. I don't have anyone in my family who's pursuing or who has pursued law for that matter. So, like, once I sort of completed my 10th, I was under enormous, like, I was under enormous, like, I was totally confused that whether I should take up science or commerce. Okay. And back then I did understand that if you take up law as a career, you will at least have, and I was back then, I was into debating and elocutions. I used to love participating in any kind of competition which would help me to, like, at least give me an opportunity to speak. Because, like, when I was in standard 6th or 7th, I used to have this stage fright. Like, there was a time when my legs used to shiver when I used to address more than 50 people. So then, as and when I kept on participating in competition, I had some confidence, and I believe that this is something which sort of fascinates me, and at the same time, this is something therein, like, this is something which I like doing. And back then, law was something which, and I was totally clueless as to what does a corporate lawyer do, or what does a litigator also do. Even though I had seen movies wherein litigators used to argue in courts, and that always fascinates everyone. But I was totally clueless, and I was mature enough to understand that there would be a huge difference in movies, what they portray in movies, in an actual life. But at the same time, I did understand that a lawyer, a lot of time, a lawyer's role is to negotiate for his client and represent his client in a manner wherein his interests are totally dependent on the way you address those issues. So this is something which always fascinated me, and at the same time, I felt that this is something which I would be comfortable doing. Analyzing something, discussing something, debating and negotiating, like, this is something which interested me back then, because my knowledge about this legal field was limited to that only back then. So with this idea of mind, I took up law, because even after I had done my 10th, when we have to choose between science and commerce, it was a very confusing decision for me. And thankfully, I did opt for commerce. And even then, I was in two minds, whether I should pursue BCom normal and then see what I should do, prepare maybe for some competitive exam, UPSC or any other exam, or I should take up chartered accountant course. And in fact, even I was almost like on the verge of giving the first entrance level test for CA, which I didn't give. So after 12th, like obviously when I was in my 11th, 12th, I didn't prepare. But I did know that there is this CLAT entrance, and there are law schools and there are other colleges also which do take law students. So then I ended up and I ended up in a law school, and I'm thankful for that decision, because I would have been a very like a terrible engineer, like if I would have taken up science as an option in standard 11th.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful session and for accepting our proposal and coming up in this talk show and providing us a brief knowledge about the advantages and challenges while working in the top tier firms and also adding values to them. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much, everyone, for your love and support. Hope this video will be helpful for you and will clear all your doubts. Do subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for upcoming episodes. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.